Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, I'm declared it a Two-fer Tuesday.
What do we get for two of? What do we get two of?
Well, you get two things for the price of one, or something of that sort, like two PBRs for $1 down at the bar. It's the happy hour. It's a twofer.
That's a twofer. It's always a Devil's Advocates. You get twofer. You get Crudy. You get me. Of course, Evan on the board and our fair audience. Way more than two, but it's a Two-fer Tuesday. Welcome, everyone.
I heard our fine colleague, Jane Mantinier, talking about the new Wisconsin roadway maps with a magical Wisconsin featured. I'm thinking I got to stop at a rest area and get me a free map and, maybe use the head. It's a twofer.
It's a twofer.
So welcome to it.
Yeah, man.
Dominic, I understand our president, Joe Biden's going to cut his trip short. Get back to what? Negotiating with terrorists?
Yes, got to do something, right?
Don't even want to hear about that. Not yet, anyways.
We'll get to it next hour.
Let's turn our attention to our own backyard, Dom. Guest columnist over at the Cap Times, she brought it to my attention. Oh, yeah, and shouldn't you tell people about the backed up traffic if they're driving on 43 South?
Yes, apparently, Crudy told me as I was coming into the studio today in Milwaukee, 43 southbound, backed up all the way from Glendale to downtown. That was a half hour ago. Apparently, Crudy, a motorcycle accident shutting down the freeway, 43 southbound. So, folks, be careful out there and take an alternative path. That's what I had to do.
I had to give you a personal traffic report just so you get to work, damn it.
I made it.
Got a radio show.
Yeah, so hopefully everyone's okay. Motorcycle accident, scary. Very warm today here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for a minute, and now it's like 62 degrees out.
Oh, no kidding.
That's crazy over here. Yeah.
Relatively nice weather, although it got a little hazy out there. Dom, here's where I want to start.
All right.
How do Republicans hate democracy?
Oh,
the ways.
So many ways.
Our friend Spencer Black, are you going to take this one?
Yeah, man, I'll start.
We're going to tag team it. It's a twofer Tuesday.
It's a twofer. Here's what Spencer Black had to say at thecaptimes.com. Republicans sure seem to hate democracy in a multitude of ways. Republicans are subverting the most basic principle of our nation, that the people decide. Like a tin pot dictatorship, they are using the heavy hand of government power to try to remain in power, regardless of the vote of the people. Here are 5 ways, says Spencer Black, the Republicans are working to weaken democracy. First, they're trying to make it harder for people to vote, especially those people who are most likely to vote against them. Second, they are rigging elections through extreme partisan gerrymandering. Third, they want to eliminate the ability of citizens to vote directly on important issues. Fourth, they seek to nullify the decisions of the electorate by overturning elections when they don't like the results. And finally, when they lose an election, they are doing everything they can to curtail the power or even expel those elected. These are unfortunately way too many examples of these tactics to detail a fraction of them in this column. There's so many of them, Crudy. So here's just a sampling to give you a sense of what's going on, according to Spencer Black. Quote, number 1, limiting the right to vote. A recent meeting of Republican National Committee donors discussed ways to limit voting by college students because they're voting against Republicans. Texas Republicans are now considering legislation to ban voting on college campuses. In Arizona, heavily armed Republicans in tactical gear sought to intimidate voters, depositing their ballots in drop boxes.
What about number 2, Dom? Rigging elections. Kevin McCarthy, Bill Press's buddy. Kevin McCarthy is the Speaker of the House because of a razor-thin Republican majority. A majority so thin that the GOP is desperately trying to hold onto the vote of George Santos, who has been indicted on 13 felonies. Republicans control the House only because of the extreme partisan gerrymandering in states they control, including Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, Utah, Georgia, and Ohio. And I would include Wisconsin in that, but Spencer does not for some reason.
Spencer continues. Again, how do Republicans hate democracy? Let us count the ways. I'll jump in here, Crudy. Limiting the ability of citizens to vote on key issues. Ohio Republicans are seeking to make it harder for voters to amend the state constitution by requiring a supermajority of the electorate in a referendum.
Hold on. I just want to remind the audience who's really funding this anti-governmental
Oh, yes, great point.
democracy action. It's the U-lines. It's Dick and Liz U-line from across the border down there in Illinois. They fund most of the malfeasance going on here in the state of Wisconsin. Why should the Buckeye State be excluded?
Hey, welcome to the party, pal. They are concerned that voters will use a public vote to bypass the gerrymandered legislature in order to keep abortion legal and outlaw gerrymandering.
Dominic, what about nullifying votes of the electorate? In Texas, Republicans want the power to overturn the election results in the state's largest county. In a state with 254 counties, the measure would apply only to Democratic voting, Harris County. A singular ability to overturn the votes in one Democratic-controlled county. Reminds you very much of the Trump recall here in the state of Wisconsin. And the proposal by his lawyer, Jim Trupus. You should know that guy's name. Jim Trupus wanted to throw out his own vote in Dane County. His own absentee vote. He wanted to disenfranchise himself, because he also wanted to disenfranchise, 170,000, 200,000 absentee voters in the most populous, most Democratic, and most Joe Biden voting counties in the state of Wisconsin. Man, that's got echoes, doesn't it?
Well, he'd be more than happy to martyr his own vote to take many, many others with him. Spencer Black goes on to this one, Crudy. Subverting the choice of the voters. When all else fails, Republicans are expelling the choices of voters or reducing their power. In Tennessee, the GOP expelled 2 Democratic state representatives. In Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis kicked out of office the elected Democratic state attorney of Hillsborough County. In Iowa, Republicans stripped away the powers of the state auditor, the only Democrat elected statewide.
And Dominic Spencer Black points out in the Cap Times piece, the Republican attack on democracy is certainly evident here in Wisconsin. Our legislature is the most gerrymandered in the nation, giving Republicans overwhelming control, virtually regardless of the people's vote. The Republicans have sought to make voting harder by limiting early voting, banning drop boxes, and imposing tough standards on student voters. And when the voters chose Democrats for governor and attorney general, held on, Republicans limited their power in a desperate lame duck session. They connived to keep control of the Natural Resources Board by having their appointee refuse to leave his seat even after his term expired. And now they are considering a ban on advisory referendums by local government, but not by the gerrymandered state legislature. Good for me, but not for thee.
Curdy Spencer Black concludes, no wonder a recent study found that Wisconsin, where democracy once thrived, is now the 3rd worst among the states for the health of our democracy. Spencer Black, 26 years in the state legislature and chair of the Assembly Natural Resources Board and the Assembly Democratic leader.
I always like Spencer Black, and I think he makes a keen observation, Dom. Democracy is nearly dead here in the state of Wisconsin. If you're actually looking for representation of what the people want through the elected people that they actually vote for, and of course in statewide elections, look at the most recent example, the Protasewicz race. It was a landslide statewide. And you know why, Dom? Of course, because of the abortion ban here in the state of Wisconsin. We have reverted to an 1849 law. And what do you know? Young people in the state are turning out the highest voting numbers in the nation, like 50% turnout. So how can these Republicans make it harder for those people to vote? Because if they're going to go vote in Democrat, Dom, if they're going to vote for some liberal like Protasewicz that might restore their rights, if the piece of legislation came down the pike, or the, I guess that would be what a lawsuit, Dom.
Or a court case, sure.
Then they might actually see their rights restored as they had been for 52 years before they were stripped by the conservative majority on the Wisconsin U.S. Supreme Court. Remember when we used to trust the federal courts because you couldn't trust the gerrymandered partisan courts here in the state of Wisconsin? You'd say, well, you can't gerrymander a state court. Well, it sure as hell was partisan. And they sure supported every gerrymander that came down the pike that created this circumstance that, we're the 3rd worst? I mean, who's worse than us? North Korea? And who? Mississippi, where
Well,
what?
listen, let this be a lesson to the younger voters who turned out in droves. This is now the strategy. You heard Cleta Mitchell. We've talked about it. Very upset. And if you don't know Jim Troopers, you better know who Cleta Mitchell is. If you don't know, Google it. You got to know who these folks are. They are players. Cleta Mitchell came out and her organization said, oh, these college kids, Crudy, it's just too easy for them to vote. They get up in their dorm room, they roll out, they stumble downstairs, and they go to the hall, and they can just cast their vote right there. We need to look at this. We need to do something about this. Not at all looking at whether or not it's their policies and the politics that they practice in. Not maybe they should look in the mirror and say, why are we not attracting these kids? Well, they know why. Of course they know why. So they're not going to even try to convince these young kids, as Cleta Mitchell says, it makes it too easy to vote. No, we're going to try to make it harder to vote, because if that's the way you're going to go, well, then we're going to make it harder for you.
Who's the guy that's going to save the Republican Party, Tom? There's only one guy, the wanker, of course.
Yes.
And his Young Adults Foundation.
Yes, he is now in charge of getting that youth conservative organized, those college Republicans, and getting them out. How'd that work out, Scott?
Turn back the indoctrination on campus, Tom.
Yeah.
And it all starts with a little book banning. And that has been proposed here by Wisconsin legislative Republicans. Come back with us. It's Tuesday. It's a twofer. Like 2 PBRs for the price of one. 2 of the greatest radio hosts, and E-Bone, and perhaps you on the phones as well. 844-967-2789.
Planning a special event and looking for a unique venue that will leave your guests impressed? Look no further than Downdrans Distilling in Cottage Grove, craft distillery that offers indoor and outdoor event rentals, where you and your guests can enjoy the finest craft cocktails distilled right on site. Whether you're celebrating a birthday,
you hear me?
Or just looking to have a good time with friends, our tasting room and cocktail garden have everything you need to make your event unforgettable. Don't settle for boring. Contact Downdrans today to book your next event. Downdrans, so much more than distilling.
Navigating Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. WDS Health LLC can help you make sense of your Medicare options and guide you through the process. Did you know your income affects your Medicare premiums? Ever wonder why some pay $0 while others pay hundreds per month? WDS Health LLC has the answers. Get your free Medicare guidebook and sign up for a free informational seminar webinar on May 23rd at noon. Call 608-848-2389, 608-848-2389, or log on wdstrategies.com and click on the events tab.
RPG came through the belly of the aircraft. We don't talk about the female combat wounded. These are our daughters and our sisters and our mothers. Wounded Warrior Project came into my life and taught me how to stand back up and get back in the fight. The truth is, I think we all have this strength inside of us, but until you're tested, you just don't know it's there.
See how Wounded Warrior Project empowers women veterans like Beth by visiting woundedwarriorproject.org/empowerwomenvets.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Lows dip down to about 42 tonight under mainly clear skies with a slight chance for scattered rain showers. Northeast winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. High of 67 tomorrow, mainly clear skies. Mainly clear tomorrow night, lows around 42. Mainly clear Thursday with highs in the mid-70s, chance for scattered rain showers Friday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 78 degrees.
From the Devil's Advocates to the Cripes Cast with Charlie Barron.
You want a hot dog? You're not invited to my cookout that's for guests aren't sure. We're doing brats.
This is Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
When they go low, we get high. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can always join us on the lines at 844-967-2789.
Now, I got a question. I was just checking on our stream listeners. Love it when people get the Civic Media app. And I was looking at our southernmost listener, Melbourne, Australia. Shout out. It's winter there, isn't it? I don't think it's ever wintered in Australia, is it? But anyways, in the northernmost listeners right now, currently, Marquette, Michigan, and then someone up like Iron Mountain. And I got to tell you guys, I'm a little envious of your legalized marijuana status there in the UP.
You're right.
But here's the part I'm not clear on. Michigan is a time zone ahead of us, right? Is the UP on Central Time and the rest of the mitten on Eastern Time? Or are they literally due north of us? Actually, you know what I mean? Are they basically equivalent to us, but they're in a different time zone? Is it 5:20 where you're listening in the UP? No. I'm very confused.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Then it's the 5:20.
I don't know, but if I'm a betting man, I'd say they're on, like lower Michigan's time. They're Eastern. That'd be my bet.
844-967-2789. There are states with split time zones. I believe Arizona's one of them. It's a little confusing, depending on the time of year, whether or not you're in daylight savings or not. Dom, keeping our attention here on the great state of Wisconsin. We've got a new proposition. The Wisconsin GOP have let off at least a couple of their finer legislative, let's call them pieces, their own legislative pieces. Dom, the GOP bill would restrict books and prosecute school staff. According to Isaiah Holmes, the original reporting at the Wisconsin Examiner, Republican lawmakers are proposing to remove certain books from schools. That's called banning books, right, Dom? And prosecute school staff who allow students to access materials deemed inappropriate.
Deemed by whom?
Yes, by them, right? A co-sponsorship memo entitled Project Childhood Innocence.
Oh, see, it sounds so nice.
Authored by Waukesha Republican Rep Scott Allen. That's where Big Ugly used to work. And Senator Andre Jacques, Republican from De Pere. Shout out WGBW people. Listening up by De Pere. I can't believe you have Andre Jacques trying to protect your children's innocence by banning books. One proposed bill removes protections of schools and their staff against prosecution for obscene materials violation. The other bill prohibits a school district from using the library funds to purchase any item that would be considered obscene material. Again, by whom? In the standard, of course, being set by these square, uptight Republicans that want to ban books. The Wisconsin Examiner first reported last May on email sent by former Rep Jesse James, then a Republican from Altoona, showing that James had been provided a list of potentially, let's call them inappropriate books by parents in his district. The books on the list dealt with LGBTQ topics and characters, issues of gender identity and sexuality, and the burden of overcoming, wait for it, Dom, racial stereotypes and inequality.
Oh, that's all. We can't possibly have that kind of indoctrination going on in our schools, say the Republicans.
So those books must be banned. James approached school districts in his assembly district to determine whether they had copies of the books on the list. So they just decided which books they were going to ban and then went looking for them. Like, hey, do you have these books we want to ban? We don't even know. We're looking. We're asking right now. The emails also discuss plans to open up librarians and teachers to prosecution for providing such materials. How dare they? We could arbitrarily choose to prosecute you because we don't like that book at any given time.
Well,
this sort of power.
Books about overcoming the burden of racial stereotypes and inequality, gender identity, right? LGBTQ topics and characters. Oh my goodness, can't possibly, talk about the real world.
Dominic, Allen Jacques and other school districts also discussed nearly identical copies of the list and used it to remove books. The banning has begun.
Book removals. Crudy, now the effort is making its expected debut in the legislature. Quote, imagine your middle school student shows you a book that they are reading from school in which characters describe how to perform oral sex. The memo circulated by Jacques and Allen reads, most parents would be shocked that a student could find a book with this type of sexually explicit material in their school library. Since the pandemic, parents have paid more attention to what material their students are encountering and demanding that their students not encounter sexually explicit material in school.
Don't tell them what's on their kids' smartphones. Please, God, don't tell them.
The memo references Wisconsin statutory language, which, quote, makes clear that obscene material is sexual conduct described in an offensive way with no educational value, unquote. Which is ironic because, of course, that list we referenced earlier, LGBTQ topics, characters, gender, issues of gender identity and sexuality, and the burden of overcoming racial stereotypes and inequalities certainly doesn't seem like oral sex teaching time. The memo states the bill related to funding would help school districts do their jobs to prevent obscene material from showing up in schools and school libraries. It adds, some might worry that the removal of exception will unleash waves of lawsuits against schools, but this is untrue due to provisions in current law. So what's the point then, fellas? The memo states that 2 layers of review, a DA and an attorney general, help ensure that only clear violations of the law result in litigation.
That's what we're going to have our district attorneys and our attorney general of the state of Wisconsin now is what, the arbiter of which books should be banned?
That's the book banning, umpires, as it were. With these protections, there should be no reason for a school employee to fall afoul of distributing obscene material. But if they do distribute obscene material, then parents should expect there to be accountability. Surely our school employees who are influencing the future generation of Wisconsin should not be immune to accountability. Book banning.
I'm so encouraged for our state. You know, if we could just ban more books and harden our thoughts.
More guns.
Purity.
Don't forget more guns.
Oh, more guns. Forgot about the guns. Come back. More Devil's Advocates. Your calls, 844-96-PARTY.
Frequency modulation and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. This is Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
ABC News, I'm Morgan Norwood. Debt limit talks have wrapped up at the White House. President Biden and congressional leaders trying to hammer out a deal to raise the debt ceiling. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says Republicans will agree if there are federal spending cuts. He also criticized the president and the timing of his trip to Japan tomorrow to attend the G7 summit. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre pushed back.
The president could be president anywhere. He can do the work of the American people abroad, and certainly he does it every day here when we're in the White House. So that's not going to change.
The Treasury Department warned the U.S. could go into default on its loans on June 1st. The State Department confirmed an incident involving a U.S. convoy in Nigeria, but would not offer any other details. A spokesperson says no U.S. citizens were involved. Authorities in New Mexico still don't have a motive for yesterday's mass shooting in a residential neighborhood. 3 people were killed by a teen who opened fire before he was killed by officers, authorities say. This is ABC News.
You're listening to a radio station that's part of the Civic Media Network. Find more at civicmedia.us.
For Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what you need to know. A Minnesota man who dumped 4 dead bodies in Dunn County in 2021 is sentenced to 100 years in prison. Witnesses say Antoine Suggs told them he snapped. Police determined the victims were killed in Minnesota. That's why Suggs was tried in St. Paul. Fewer people are going to college in Wisconsin, but the state's higher education leaders are asking for more money in the state budget. UW System President Jay Rothman says it's because Wisconsin is in a war for talent with other states for high-demand jobs.
Engineering jobs, the data scientists, that can be done elsewhere in the country. And if we don't fill them here, those jobs will leave the state. And when they leave the state, they're not coming back.
Rothman tells Wisconsin Eye, Wisconsin ranks 43rd in the nation for state university funding. In sports, the Cardinals clobbered the Brewers last night 18-1. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
From the kennel to the coop, whatever the season, Fleet Farm has everything to keep your animals happy and healthy. From training your pup to sit season, to mastering those retrieval skills season. From clipping your horse for competition season, to keeping the backyard birds well-fed season. And of course, loving your pets like family season. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, you don't need it. Because we have it all. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
In a world that seems overwhelming at times, it's nice to know that a place like Heartland Farm Sanctuary is there. Not only do we provide farm animal rescue and care, but also humane education and therapy programs for children and teens. Located across 38 beautiful acres in Stoughton, Wisconsin, Heartland Farm Sanctuary is where people, animals, and the earth connect to heal and nurture one another. Visit our Facebook page to learn more about what we can do for you. At Heartland Farm Sanctuary, our barn doors are open.
Strawberry, turtle, grasshopper, so many delicious flavors of cheesecake bars. Is your mouth watering yet? Well, good. Order your bars or bakery items now from Justain's Just Bakery in Madison. Along with feeding your cheesecake craving, you'll be supporting a special training program for people dealing with employment barriers. Justain's Just Bakery. Call 608-598-0042. 608-598-0042. Changing lives, changing the community. Justain.
VA has a new life insurance program for veterans with service-connected disabilities called Veterans Affairs Life Insurance, or VA Life. VA Life benefits include up to $40,000 in coverage, no medical questions to enroll, and no time limit to apply if you are age 80 or under. Veterans can apply, receive an instant decision, and manage their policy online.
The Devil's Advocates. Sausage making never looked so good.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a Two-fer Tuesday edition. You cannot call it Taco Tuesday, though. It is copyrighted.
Oh, is it?
Some taco franchise that's not Taco Bell has the copyrights to Taco Tuesday, and Taco Bell's not happy about it. They think that, Taco Tuesday, I guess, but we're doing Two-fer Tuesday. 2 tacos for the price of one. That would be Taco Tuesday, but apparently that's sort of ubiquitous. They think everyone should be able to market the Taco Two-fer Tuesday, or
like a Two-fer Tuesday,
Taco Tuesday
instead of a Taco Tuesday. I mean,
Yeah.
so is Two-fer Tuesday also a copyrighted, trademarked, whatever?
It should be
term. How about the Devil's Advocates? That should definitely be protected.
Except not for. It's not Two-fer Tuesday. It's Two-fer Tuesday.
Fur. Two-fer Tuesday.
As Wisconsinites.
Yes, that's the only appropriate way to say it.
844-967-2789. All Wisconsinites. Hell, you're welcome worldwide round here. Dean from Augusta. Dean, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dean.
Hey guys. I heard you talking about the time zone up in Michigan.
Yeah, how's that work?
About I'd say about a third of the UP. The western third is central, and the rest is eastern. If you went straight north of Eagle River, got into Michigan about 20, 30 miles, then you'll run into the eastern time zone. It kind of runs like a snake up there. It's really kind of weird.
So like a few counties along the Wisconsin-Michigan border stay on central time like Wisconsin does.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
But Iron Mountain is
it's-
central time zone, apparently. I could have just Googled it. Hell,
Yeah, we got Dean, though. He's telling him.
Come on, man. I could direct you, man. I could direct you.
We need some direction sometimes, Dean.
Dean, you ever get up to the UP? Because I like to venture up there every now and again. I wish I had time to go there this week.
I live about 2 hours away, and I vacation up there usually 1 week out of the year.
So how are you listening to us today, if I may ask, Dean?
I listen to the app.
Oh, well, you
Since
are
I'm
one of
driving
the...
all over the state. Yeah, since I'm driving all over the state, I don't have to switch radio station to radio station. I can just flip the app on and go all day long.
You're the smart one, Dean. Everyone should be like
Oh,
Dean from Augusta, know what the time zones are in the UP, get the Civic Media app and listen frequently all around the state, right, Dean?
That's right. I listen every day I'm in the truck.
You are my hero, Dean. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Dean.
844-967-2789. I'd like that guy from Melbourne, Australia to call in. But,
what time is it there?
Well, it's got to be. Yeah, what time is it there? What time zone are you in? I got to think that would be a long distance call, though. Don't do so. Don't call collect anyway.
The internet says it is 7:36 a.m. on Wednesday, May 17th.
Could they tell us what happened tomorrow then?
That'd be great. I'd like that.
They're calling in from tomorrow effectively then, right? I won't even see 7:30 tomorrow morning. Well, maybe 8:15.
Oh, come on. What? How do you stay in bed when it gets light out so early, man?
Well, my one teenager who's home from college, well, I didn't say I wouldn't be awake earlier. I just wouldn't get up any earlier. Like I've been crawling back into bed and just pulling the blankets up.
Yeah. I feel a little depressed, man. You need a hug, bro. Come on, man. I love you, dude. It's all right. Get out of bed. I'm there with you. We'll go for a walk in the park. We'll have a good time.
It's going to be a little cooler tomorrow.
Yes.
844-967. If it were raining, no reason to get up at all. 844. Except to do the show with you.
Oh, of course.
Except it'll be hump day or some other clever variation thereof.
I'm sure.
Card on that. 844-967-2789. Most of my prep is what to call the show. Today is a Two-fer Tuesday edition. Scott from Madison, be a part of it. What do you got for us?
Hey, Scott.
So, hey, so the time zone question is really about the concentration of Green Bay Packer fans and Red Wing fans in hockey. That seriously affects where your time zones are. If there are some anomalies, like a place like Joe's Wax in Menominee, Michigan, where they root for the Packers and the Lions a little bit, but most of the UP, at least if you're in the TV zone of Green Bay, then you're on Central Time.
Well, the other part is if you're a Lions fan, they're not worth watching. And they've always got a noon Sunday start, 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central Time. Well, the Packers are always at 3 or prime time, man. We don't get stuck with that crappy noon slot.
Hey, Scott, what about the Red Wings? You said the Red Wings. So the UP, they got lots of Red Wing fans up there, right? I mean, Wisconsin doesn't have a hockey team, not a professional NHL team.
That is correct. But if the really, really most intense Packer fans, then you're in Central Time because you're with the Green Bay market.
Gotcha. And what if you like the Minnesota Wild? Then what do you do?
Who?
Scott, appreciate your call. We'll take them here at 844-967-2789. Green Bay named the best city to live in America, I believe, by U.S. News and World Reports. Steve calling from the best place to live in America. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, I think the person that was in charge of ranking us that talked to our mayor for a little too long. But anyways, what I have to
the current one, Eric Gingrich, or the former one, Jim Schmidt?
Yeah. I don't know about Jim Schmidt. I didn't live here when he was mayor. But yeah. But that's what I have to say. Crew, you're not up at 8 o'clock in the morning?
Depends on the day.
Every morning.
Depends on the day. Some days I'm up late. Last night I was working on some banking stuff, so I was up late and I was, had a hard time sleeping. I had
what's late? Like 1 a.m., 2 a.m.,
one or two, and then I wake up early and I have to use the restroom. But if the dogs aren't licking me or anything, then I crawl back under the covers.
Okay. Well, I mean, go to bed at 1 o'clock in the
morning. My
morning.
youngest son leaves for school at like 8:07. So if I hear that door slam, I hop up quick and try to yell, "Love you, son," out the window or something. So 8:07 is usually as late as I ever get up.
I kind of know what you're talking about, because when I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, my wife doesn't have to be up that early, and the process of getting out of bed without waking up my wife is a little difficult sometimes.
Have you considered separate bedrooms? That's what we do.
Separate beds, like old school style, with the nightstand in the middle, like the old 50s.
No.
I mean, leave it to the Republicans, Steve. Sooner or later, that's going to be the next mandate coming down from the Republicans.
Remember when Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore in the Dick Van Dyke Show, they had separate beds as a married couple?
Right. That's
yeah, I do. And this is what I have to say to the Republicans. You can stay off my books and off my wife. So no regulation of either. No, thank you.
Yeah, well, right on, Steve. And they claim to be the party of no regulation, right? But they certainly like to regulate some things. They just want to, make you live the life that they mandate, not the one that you want, which is kind of antithetical to the whole human experience.
And Steve, I'm going to confess on myself a little bit. I kind of got hammer drunk at the Fister on Saturday night.
He's still
at this age. I'm still.
Oh, come on!
Like a Tuesday morning, like finally feel like rested and human.
Finally human. Well, welcome back to humanity, Crudy.
But we'll see what tomorrow brings. Might have
right. Tonight's another night.
It's a twofer.
Just a twofer, Crudy. If you never stop, you're never hung over. 844-967-2789. Could we talk about the book banning thing for just a little bit? I mean,
I thought you were going to go to the 18-1 Brewer drubbing last night.
Is that what it was?
18-1.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it, but then
they've been hot. They just swept the series against the Royals, and then the Cardinals come to town. Well, they're in St. Louis. But we got tickets for next Monday's game, and don't forget to give them away in a timely fashion. After an 18-1 loss, we might hold on to these tickets to Hump Day Wednesday. We don't want to give away Two-fer Tuesday tickets.
Why not? It's Two-fer Tuesday.
We could, I suppose.
That's the whole point.
Here's the deal. We got 2 tickets for next Monday's game. Two for Monday?
I don't know.
We got 2 for Monday. Courtesy of our flagship Brewer station, WISS, 1100 AM and 98.3 FM. 2 for next Monday night. I believe that's a 6:40 first pitch. And I forget who's coming. Astros, maybe? Somebody's coming to town. Brewers better be back in their winning ways by then. But 844-967-2789, somewhere during the course of this show, and tell E-Bone if you want the tickets. If I don't see, I want the tickets in the queue, then I'm not even going to ask you about the tickets. But if you want the tickets, tell E-Bone, and then we'll create an arbitrary contest. You better be clever, better be funny. Funny is funny, right, Dom?
Funny is funny. That's what's great about funny. 844-967-2789. You know what's not funny? Republicans banning books. I mean, literally, they sent a memo out to their constituents, you know, painting this picture for them.
What book would you like to ban, Dom?
Imagine if your child came home with a book that described how to perform oral sex to your middle schooler. Imagine that. Well, is that what you're suggesting is going on? I just want to be clear here, because that's one thing to imagine.
Can you, which book?
Right. What are you exactly talking about? Because I don't remember those books when I was a kid growing up.
I got to think there's like a Judy Blume book or something they're trying to get to. I mean, there are books. I remember there were books by like Judy Blume that touched on, kids coming of age and sexuality and topics of that sort. I don't know if
that's not obscene, man. I mean, that's not obscene.
I'm not suggesting they're obscene. I'm not some Republican.
Is that what
trying
they're
to ban
suggesting, though? They're throwing this out there like, hey, imagine this terrible thing. It's an orgy. Your kid's reading a book and it's a graphic novel and it's an orgy. Imagine that. Well, yeah, imagine that. But that's not what's happening. And if the reality is the kids, everybody who's a young person becomes an adult, goes through the life's changes. And if you think just, praying about it or ignoring it is any solution, I think you're wrong. Now, if you want to groom your child and your children and have them believe that everything that happens is simply because of God's will and not nature, and puberty is a gift from God. I don't know what you're going to tell your kids. But if you're not telling them, where do you expect them to get the information, if not a library? And let's be honest, based on the legislation that some of the Republicans are proposing on as it pertains to apps, your kids, if they got a phone, they're on it already. So you're already monitoring those things, right? I doubt it, because if you were, you wouldn't want the law, you wouldn't want the legislature to come up with laws for you, because you'd be already monitoring the situation, right? See what I'm saying? Well, they tell us when we were growing up when cable TV came out was a big thing. Well, you turn off the TV. Just turn it off. All you gotta do is turn it off. Oh, you can't do that. Yes, you can. You can. It worked for me. Well, it worked. I was denied television for a while because I used to run home quick after school, apparently, and watch old reruns of Gilligan's Island or something. And I should have been, outside playing. Oh, okay. But people are already there. You just turn it off, people. You are the teacher to your children.
Do you see some of those outfits Mrs. Howell was wearing? Damn.
Marianne or Ginger? I mean, I don't know.
Do you see Martha Stewart is the Sports Illustrated cover model at 82 years old?
I did see that.
Real quick, one of the books of Judy Blume that I think this is the one I meant, called Forever, a 1975 novel, dealt with teenage sexuality. And I'm not going to go through the whole plot, but I don't know which book they meant, right? We don't know.
Oh, you just have to imagine.
Specifically, Republicans want to ban, but if they ignore sexuality, then their children won't have children?
Well, we know what
they found their old man's penthouse in the closet. You know how they learned about sexuality.
All right.
Or their mom's copy of My Body, Myself, or whatever it was called.
No, here was the list given to the Republicans. LGBTQ topics and characters, issues of gender identity and sexuality, and the burden of overcoming racial stereotypes and inequality. Can't have that.
Ignore it and it'll go away, Dom. Come back. We don't go away. Name in 30 seconds.
Race car, mom, dad, reefer, kayak, level. Did I say mom already?
You're forgetting one really important one.
Zero res.
Not only is it the coolest palindrome ever, it's also our favorite.
Right, I remember. Why is that again?
They advertise with us.
Zero res, my favorite palindrome.
And carpet cleaner. Get the best carpet cleaning ever. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at ZeroResMedicine.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Hey, Darcy, I just saw the perfect house. Can you help me write an offer on it?
I'd be happy to, Brian. Did you see it at an open house?
No, I just called a sign, had the agent show it to me. I didn't want to bug you.
Brian, how many times have you heard me say don't call the sign?
All of them?
You called the agent working for the seller, and once you see the property with that agent, I'm no longer free to write an offer on it.
So...
You need to hire us from the beginning, help you find the right home, negotiate on your behalf, and protect your interests all the way through the process, and it shouldn't cost you a dime.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Find them at solidarityrealty.com.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt U.S. Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Lows dip down to about 41 tonight. Under clear skies, northeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Mainly clear skies tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 67. Lows dip down to about 42 tomorrow night. Partly cloudy. Mid-70s Thursday, turning much cooler Friday with highs in the upper 60s and scattered showers. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 78 degrees.
Your official home of Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger, featuring Packers legend.
When people try to sell books, they do all sorts of interesting, exotic things.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but the show is kind of a big deal.
People of San Francisco, who may not know it, but they are beautiful, and so is their city.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open and giving away some tickets. It's a Two-fer Tuesday for Monday's game. Next week, 844-967-2789. Houston Astros in Milwaukee taking on the Brewers.
And these are great seats, club seats, second row behind home plate. My father-in-law was bragging about him. He got to go to a off game on the company ticket. Someday we'll merit them.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
And we'll tell you whether or not they're good seats. 844-967-2789. Drew likes tickets. Welcome. Oh, damn it. Where is he? Drew likes tickets. Welcome, Drew. What do you got for us?
Hey, Drew.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Awesome.
Good, man. Good. Hey, so here's the deal. I don't want to say which school district I work for, but I work for the schools, okay?
Yeah.
And this whole book banning thing is just another way to control what's in the schools. Because here's the deal, man. Every kid every kid who's like middle school and above has a phone. And every kid with that phone can get pretty much any content they want through YouTube or any of the other things that
Drew,
they
do
might
not
find
tell Marjorie Taylor Greene she's got a real obsession about the porn sites, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, that's probably because she lives on them, right? I mean, the Bible Belt downloads the most porn in the country, so you know why she's going after them.
I suspect it has something to do with her ex-husband, but go back to the book banning. Tell us more about the book banning. Are they banning books or seeking to ban books in the district you may or may not work in, Drew?
Not well. There's been some. I guess I would say maybe some scuttlebutt, but no. Like our board of education is pretty. I would say not progressive, but pretty open-minded, and their tune is more of, you know what, parents know what your children are checking out, and you handle it. It's not something for us that we need to be worried about.
Drew, what if the parents haven't actually read any of the books and they've got to rely upon, Republican state legislators to tell them what books should be banned?
I mean, to rely upon the government to tell them what books their children should
Right,
read.
right. Well, you know what? That's just being lazy. We have a good parent group. We have about 1,000 kids in my school. We have some pretty in tune parents, and then we do have a few that aren't. I would say would rather have us be babysitters than educate their children. No. So they take the lazy way out. They read the clickbait emails and then get all sorts of wound up about things that don't really even matter. And I just don't understand, because the Republican Party is the party of freedom and choice. And if you want to choose for your kids not to read those books, then know what they're checking out from the library. Just
Drew,
don't be lazy,
I would prefer if my children read no books whatsoever, had no independent thought whatsoever. Drew, we always appreciate our educators, or at least those that claim to work in the district, but won't tell us which one. But if you stick around, we got 2 tickets two for you. We got 2 tickets to the Monday Night Brewer game, courtesy of our flagship station, WISS 1100 AM. Drew, if you turn them on, you can hear the Brewer game this evening, I think, right? Probably got another one against the Cardinals. Better play better.
They can't play worse.
844-967-2789. Fred from Cottage Grove. How are you, Fred?
Hello, Fred.
I'm doing good. Thanks for the call. Hey, the game tonight, I heard they've forfeited. The Cardinals forfeited.
How so? They skunked us damn near last night. They
wore out because just so much running and everything else, and leg cramps, and they're just not physically able to go.
Well, Fred, the Brewers might call you. They might need some relief pitching tonight. They didn't get any last night.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll give them some relief pitching between beers or something else. But I don't know if I can afford the beer down there anymore.
You got to go on Two-fer Day.
Oh, yeah. Good
That's
idea.
Two-fer.
That Monday?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Fred, if there is a deal on. I'm not clear. If there's a promotion to be had, Fred, we'll look for our especially cheap friends and tell them it's a twofer.
Okay, good. That's right, because you know what the heck. You guys have a good night.
Well, thank you, Fred.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Fred. The beers, certainly in any of these events these days can get real expensive. So you tailgate a little bit. You bring your own 6-pack, bring your own 12-pack, whatever. Bring your own bottle, which you're into. Hang out, grill out, and then you go in and maybe you have a pop while you're there.
I would be an alcoholic, but I really can't afford to.
Right.
844-967-2789. Ryan from Madtown. How you doing, Ryan?
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, good. I'm doing well, guys. How about yourself?
Hanging in there. Fair to middling. The beautiful summer weather has already turned to gray, but, make us happy. Make me sunny.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm 48 years old, and I remember the whole Judy Blume thing and the uproar over the books back when I was in school. I forget what grade it was, but my take on it is, if you're a parent and you don't want your kid to read a certain book, then you stop your child from reading that certain book. You become a parent. You don't become a parent for all the other kids out there and make the choice for their parents. I can't advocate for this. I mean, it's like if another parent is telling me and making the decision, trying to, of what my child can read or not, and that's not their job.
You know, Ryan, I would be okay with my kids reading damn near anything in the written form. Even if there's a little profanity laced in there, a little quote unquote obscenity laced in there. I mean, hell, you got to use your imagination. I had one of those already. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have a 19-year-old kid, and I can remember when he won an iPad in a contest at the age of, like, I don't know, it was like first generation, second generation iPad.
Yeah.
And I was like kind of worried. Like, what are you going to be accessing? And pretty soon, I'm overhearing him listening to videos of other guys playing video games. It's like a big thing. I probably still is, somebody playing Minecraft or something like that. And he's dropping F-bombs and, every once in a while. And I'm looking at him out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, what are you listening to? And he's like, I know what it means. And I know I'm not supposed to say it. So is it okay if I just listen to it? And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess so, as long as you understand the right and wrong of it.
Right.
Ryan, do you swear in front of the kids?
Yes, I do.
That makes you a human being, Ryan. And if you hold tight, we got
I know.
two for you too, man.
Two for Tuesday. All right.
It's a Two-fer Tuesday, and we gave away all the tickets. Ryan, hold on. We need your email address. Come back, the rest of you. We got hour 2, a happier Two-fer happy hour.
Heavens above, he's on.
You may have heard my stories on civic media. Wisconsin News Connection is serving listeners to learn how to better report on issues important to you. Go to wisnewssurvey.com, fill it out, and you'll be entered to win a $50 Target gift card. Once again, wisnewssurvey.com to help improve the news and enter to win a $50 Target gift card. Thanks, and we look forward to your response at wisnewssurvey.com.
Attention warriors, if you're struggling with PTSD, TBI, or MST, Wounded Warrior Canines can help. This nonprofit organization matches warriors with a service dog, provides specialized programs at no cost, and prepares you to pass a public access test for ADA certification. The team at Wounded Warrior Canines selects an animal based on your specific needs and trains them to aid in your daily life. Contact Wounded Warrior Canines today. Together, we can do this. Log on woundedwarriorcanines.org or find them on Facebook. You're listening to Mad Radio, WMDX 1580 AM Columbus, W224EG Madison, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
ABC News. I'm Derek Dennis. The latest round of debt ceiling talks wrapping up with no deal yet. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy after today's meeting.
The president just now appointed individuals we will set. I would like to meet today, actually, and just start meeting until we get this done.
McCarthy signaled they could end up with a deal as early as this week. Senate leader Chuck Schumer says Congress has a duty to raise the debt limit without Republicans demanding sweeping spending cuts.
We have to come to common ground. That's the only way this has ever gotten done. It has never gotten done with one party saying you have to do it my way.
The U.S. could default on its loans June 1st. Authorities in New Mexico identified the suspected gunman in yesterday's mass shooting in a Farmington neighborhood. Police say 18-year-old Bo Wilson, a high school student, shot and killed 3 people and wounded 6 others. Mobile phone giant Vodafone says in order to cut costs, the company will lay off 11,000 workers over the next 3 years. This is ABC News. Protests in San Francisco after the district attorney announced no charges will be filed against a security guard who shot and killed a shoplifter in April.
Michael Earl Wayne Anthony was working as a security guard at a San Francisco Walgreens in April when he got into a scuffle with 24-year-old Banco Brown and then shot and killed Brown. Prosecutors taking the unprecedented step now of releasing a police interview with Anthony.
Fired 1 shot.
Anthony said he felt like his life was in danger and that Brown was about to stab him. San Francisco DA Brooke Jenkins.
There is nothing to rebut his statements regarding the fact that he acted in self-defense.
But some San Francisco leaders disagree with the DA and are calling for further review. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Last week, the World Health Organization called an end to the emergency phase of the Mpox outbreak. But now the CDC says summer gatherings could lead to a resurgence of the virus, previously known as monkeypox. I'm Derek Dennis, ABC News.
Continue the conversation online. Find and follow Civic Media on Facebook and on Twitter.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane McNair. Here's what you need to know. A 62-year-old Waukesha man has been arrested and could face charges of disorderly conduct, intimidation of a victim, and false imprisonment after he allegedly chased 4 boys playing ding-dong ditch on May 8th and then forced one of them into his car with the intention of taking him to either his parents or the police. Police later found the pair, who didn't know each other, in the parking lot of a Woodman's grocery store. The boy has been reunited with his parents. Newly elected State Senator Dan Knodel will serve as the chair of the Senate Shared Revenue, Elections, and Consumer Protection Committee. It was announced on Tuesday. Knodel, who represents Wisconsin's 8th Senate District, signed onto a letter urging former Vice President Mike Pence to delay certifying the 2020 presidential results. Knodel replacing longtime Senator Alberta Darling, who retired late last year. I'm Jane McNair. This is Civic Media News.
If you haven't been to Downdren's Distilling in Cottage Grove lately, you haven't been to Downdren's. With our expanded indoor tasting room, new spring cocktail menu, and perfect timing to take advantage of our cocktail garden, there's so much new to check out. We're both family and pet friendly. You can plan your visit around one of our many regular events. From plant sales to pro wrestling, craft sales to doggy days, there's always something happening at Downdren's. Follow us on social media for details, or better yet, come over to the tasting room and see for yourself. Downdren's Distilling on Progress Drive in Cottage Grove.
The enticing smell of fresh baked goods, breads, rolls, pies, cookies, and more. This isn't just a bakery, it's Just Dane's Just Bakery, a training program for people dealing with employment barriers. Learn more and order now for your next get-together at justdane.org, justdane.org.
Mad Radio 92.7 programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty studios. Solidarity Realty, there is an alternative.
Hey everybody, how we doing? I'm Charlie Barons, inviting you to join me Saturdays and or Sundays at noon. It's a horse apiece, whatever you decide. We're doing the Cripes Cast, where we talk to people for and or from the Midwest, and it's more fun than a six-pack of Jolly Good. Okay, the pride of Random Lake, that Jolly Good is. Anyway, it's on your Civic Media station and the Civic Media app. And do me a favor, tell your folks I says hi. Okay, real good.
As goes Wisconsin with Kristen Bry.
The issue with Milwaukee schools, just not enough high-quality schools.
Weekdays 11 to 2.
You can talk about everything else. You can talk about the funding. You can talk about school choice and for it or against it. But there's not enough Hope Christian schools. There's not enough St. Marcus schools. There's not enough Kings. There's not enough Reagans. And until we fix that, Milwaukee Public Schools really isn't going to change.
As goes Wisconsin with host Kristen Bry on Civic Media and the Civic Media app.
The Civic Media team would like to say congratulations. More than 200 Wisconsin businesses and nonprofits are receiving a free advertising campaign through our one-day $1 million advertising giveaway. If you missed out, our local sales team would still love to help you with your own campaign. Go to civicmedia.us and click on the sponsorship tab. Again, civicmedia.us and sponsorship. New and still growing. Advertise today with the Civic Media network of radio stations.
Moving Day, a walk for Parkinson's, is happening around the country. Together we can unite in the fight against Parkinson's disease in a safe but exciting and fun way. So let's get moving. Join the Parkinson's Foundation to learn more and register at movingdaywalk.org.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever.
And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a Two-fer Tuesday edition, and we gave away 2 firsts of Brewer tickets, courtesy of our fine affiliate, WISS 1100 AM. Listen to the Brewers on Civic Media. And if you don't live in the Valley, try us on WRCE in southwestern Wisconsin. But Dom, back to the big show. And it is going to be a big hour, I suspect. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely, man. There's so much to get to that we have not even touched on. Where do you want to start, man?
That's a great question. Where are the charges?
Where are the charges?
Are the charges is what I would ask. I have turned on right-wing radio, and all I've heard are these defenses. Oh, poor Donald Trump. They never should have started a investigation of Donald Trump, according to the special counselor, Durham. But that's not exactly what Durham said. He might have criticized, and there was already an IG report. They already did this.
The Inspector General, like 2 years ago, released a report, right?
This has already been done. There's no new there. And ultimately, Durham is a tool of the propagandist. And effectively, this report is a propaganda victory for the right, Dom. But not everyone buys in. And I find myself, politics makes interesting bedfellows, Dom. The guy I find myself agreeing with today, strangely, podcaster Steve Bannon.
Hey, Bannon!
Steve Bannon asked the $64,000 question. Where are the charges? If you don't have court cases, you cannot force these decisions to be made by, let's say, higher courts, whether or not there's validity. If there's no criminal charges, if there's no charges, and I mean, I know Durham tried, but that was thin gruel. That was like CJ. There were no credible charges. Well, I take that back. One guy pled guilty and got probation. I mean, I got worse than that for Coon Creek, man.
Right.
That's not real stuff. Now, we contrasted that yesterday with the numbers of people charged and convicted and pled guilty under the Mueller report findings. And of course, the Durham report barely mentions the Manafort, Paul Manafort, the campaign chair, giving the insider information to Kalimnik. That's not really a centerpiece of this Durham report. All he really takes issue with is internal mechanisms of a renewal of a FISA warrant, and says that's some shoddy work. And therefore, somehow Donald Trump, according to the propagandist and the spin of it, Tom, Donald Trump's been fully vindicated.
It was Hillary all the time.
It's so ridiculous, this argument that they make. No one, of course, read the report. If they did so, well, they'll use it for whatever political meaning.
Well, that's ultimately the point, right? Just because you have an investigation doesn't mean it's a valid investigation, doesn't mean the investigation is going to bear fruit. But you can say we have an investigation. And just because a report comes out and says one thing or two things, that's how the propaganda works. They'll say it, they'll use it, they'll prop it up to say it says whatever they want it to say in order to further the messaging. The Durham report, it's so damning. But of course, no criminal charges. And there are 2 cases they took to court for a couple of people lying to the FBI. He lost.
He did. So I would call this a nothing burger. Steve Bannon, I find it interesting. I mean, other than perhaps an affinity for meth, I don't know if Steve Bannon and I share any other qualities. That's a joke.
Allegedly. That is a joke.
Allegedly.
At least on your side.
And my side.
Allegedly on Steve Bannon's side.
I'm not a meth guy, but conservative podcaster host Steve Bannon, he was allegedly. And he blasted special counsel John Durham. That's the Bill Barr, the Donald Trump appointee, the outgoing president 4 years ago, put this John Durham in place to get to the bottom of the Russia hoax. And he dropped this thing. And according to conservative podcaster Steve Bannon, it was an epic failure because the effort resulted in no criminal convictions. And we've got sound. And I can't believe I'm playing the sound of Steve Bannon.
Podcaster.
You know, if he was a radio star like us, Dom. But E-Bone did the work. We're not going to play much, but former alleged meth head Steve Bannon, Trump campaign advisor, pardoned by the former, and now is calling this an epic failure, this Durham report. It's a nothing burger, CJ. I know you're in the queue. I know you can hear it. Play it for CJ. Play the Bannon.
Let's assume for purposes of this discussion, Brother Davis, I agree with you. Tell me then, that is why, and people come to me all the time, Steve, why don't you spend more time on Durham? Why don't you do this? Durham had the, correct me if I'm wrong, brother, but that's the epic failure of Durham. That shows you, when you say the courts, there's got to be some kind of driver prosecuting, there's got to be a prosecutorial attitude in the courts. The courts just aren't going to sit there and just get like gods deem this to be true. You have to bring cases before them. Isn't this the epic failure of, am I missing it? I'm not a lawyer, but isn't this the epic failure of Durham, sir?
In part, the fact that there was no there to find. I mean, yes, the same thing the IG report found. The FBI director, or at least the FBI Twitter account, put out statements. Hey, great news. We corrected these things 4 years ago. Problem solved. Now, I'm not saying the FBI is above reproach. I didn't like what James Comey did.
Right.
That, what was it, the 5th of July? Coming back from a holiday? Now, the right, those that would spin this Durham report for propaganda said, you know, I couldn't believe Comey came out after the 4th holiday, after the Day of Patriots, it fully exonerated the fully corrupt Hillary Clinton, right? But that was far from an exoneration. It was an evisceration publicly with no
charges,
indictments offered.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Where are the indictments? CJ, I ask you, where are the indictments? Where is the evidence? Where are the convictions? If you don't have any, keep it short. Welcome, CJ. Hard to respond to that. Where are the convictions, CJ? Hello.
We have CJ
there.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Yes,
there we go.
I am. Thank you, guys. Well, here's can I just say, I'm sure Civic Radio LLC is going to use all of Trump's tax cuts. But did you see they're hauling in John Brennan? They hauled him in to testify. The truth cometh, because
there's a future truth above and beyond the Durham report that offered no convictions, no indictments.
Durham's testifying next week.
Well, but okay, but that's not an. We're talking about an investigation. If I may, CJ, sure. Durham will testify, and he'll go in front of a Republican committee, and he'll do the tap dance, and he'll get pushed back on. But this report, this investigation, these 4 years, CJ, and all this money spent. I know you're very concerned about the money spent in the Buller investigation. All this money spent, and this report gets released, and there's no charges. Why do you think that is?
We listened to you for 2 years saying that it didn't exist. Now you're trying to downplay it. Watch
which part of
testimony.
What are we downplaying,
radio,
dude?
Cover it gavel to gavel.
We're covering
Right,
your
Rudy?
Durham, buddy. Listen, I'm covering the Durham. Had Durham brought forth convictions, we'd cover that.
Well, charges.
Durham well, he did bring non-meritorious charges because he wasn't able to bring convictions in court, contrary to what happened in the Mueller thing. Now, Donald Trump handed out a lot of pardons. You remember that, CJ? The guys like podcaster Steve Bannon. But I echo podcaster Steve Bannon in the question, where are the charges, CJ? Can you speak to the fact no evidence in this 300-page report? We hear what Durham's opinion is. But why doesn't he offer evidence supported by indictments, supported by charges? To you, I give you a minute,
the Attorney General.
What?
That's up to the Attorney General. And are your Civic Radio going to cover?
They're a
that?
special counselor. He has the right
Because
to
you care
suggest
about
charges.
You care about truth? Are you going to cover it gavel to gavel?
Sure. We'll cover it as appropriate on this show because I only control 2 hours a day, CJ. But what I will say is if there are evidence, presented, that's compelling to me.
Oh, and let's find
But your opinion, CJ, Tom's opinion seldom, and Durham's opinion never has been compelling to me when not supported by evidence.
Isn't this the epic failure of Durham, sir?
It certainly seems like it. And CJ, Durham is not going to get up in front of committee under oath and testify about anything that's not in the report already. If there was some there, if there were going to be charges, that would already be in the report. He would have already leveled those things. So whatever back and forth you think is going to be gained by the Republicans and Durham, and I would expect there'll be some pushback as well, is if it's not in the report, there's no new news coming out of his testimony in front of any committee.
Well, and there was no new news in the report, just a lot of conjecture and opinion and rehash of information that was presented in an IG report a couple of years ago. And that wasn't exactly, it's not like we're FBI guys here, man. We're not federales, CJ. I'm not here to support them. I do believe in facts and a court of law. Your guy just didn't get anybody to a court of law or convicted. Come back. More Devils.
You got nothing.
Triathlon last weekend.
Dr. D. King at ProMotion Chiro and Rehab in downtown Madison will get you back up to speed. He's a chiropractor specializing in soft tissue sports med and has helped tons of runners, cyclists, triathletes. Olympic coach Randy Huntington hired him to work with the 8th fastest sprinter in the world. Grab your appointment online now. No insurance needed. Go to dkingdc.com. That's DEEKINGDC.com.
Attention warriors, if you're struggling with PTSD, TBI, or MST, Wounded Warrior Canines can help. This nonprofit organization matches warriors with a service dog, provides specialized programs at no cost, and prepares you to pass a public access test for ADA certification. The team at Wounded Warrior Canines selects an animal based on your specific needs and trains them to aid in your daily life. Contact Wounded Warrior Canines today. Together, we can do this. Log on woundedwarriorcanines.org or find them on Facebook, direct from the Dairy State. It's Sharp Cheddar Weekends, a 3-hour block of Wisconsin-produced radio, Saturdays and Sundays from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m., featuring Raised in Wisco with Joe Clayfish and Danielle Fairman, The Cripes Cast with Charlie Behrens, and Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger, Gilbert Brown. You can enjoy it by the slice or enjoy the whole darn thing. Sharp Cheddar Weekends is radio so fresh, it squeaks. Listen in on the Civic Media Station or on the app.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Lows dip down to about 41 tonight. Under clear skies, northeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Mainly clear skies tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 67. Lows dip down to about 42 tomorrow night. Partly cloudy. Mid-70s Thursday, turning much cooler Friday with highs in the upper 60s and scattered showers. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 78 degrees.
Sometimes the truth hurts, but in a good way. Oh. This is Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX, the truth you can't ignore.
The Devil's Advocates.
making radio great again.
Before you accuse me, take a look at yourself.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Join us on the lines at 844-967-2789. Crudy, I don't know if you saw this, some breaking news out there. The conservative right stuff, they might just get a new customer, because it's being reported that U.S. Rep. Lauren Boebert has filed for divorce from her husband after nearly 20 years. She's on the market, fellas. Go get her.
I'm not gleeful about the end of another person's marriage. I heard they, had troubles with the gun-themed restaurant they ran as a couple. Financial troubles with your gun-themed restaurant often lead to divorce, Dom. It's not a happy thing. It couldn't happen to a nicer lady, but
well, the conservative men I've dated at least know how to treat me like a woman.
My understanding, the Right Stuff conservative dating app was really lacking, apparently, in females signing up for it. So, maybe Lauren Boebert can get a new job, spokesperson for the Right Stuff.
Dominic, I'd like to speak to perhaps the most, anyways, I'm not going to characterize it. Let me just bring you some of the reporting.
All right.
On your favorite Florida governor who wants to send law enforcement and troops to the Texas border as his run up to a presidential campaign. What could possibly go wrong here? I read, Dateline Tallahassee. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Meatball Ron, said Tuesday he will send state law enforcement officers to the southern border in Texas. Now, I watched enough Dukes of Hazzard to know when you get to the county border, the sheriff's stuck, right?
I don't know if that's the thing, man. I think that might have been a little false.
Doesn't his jurisdiction end? Well, okay, fair enough. But doesn't his jurisdiction end at the Florida-Georgia state line, something like that?
Something like that.
A tactical maneuver, as it's being described here, Dom, that will test how far the state will go to enforce immigration law, which is obviously under federal purview, Dom, as the Republican governor prepares to launch a presidential campaign. It'd be different if he was somehow, quote unquote, protecting Florida's borders, but he ain't. He's involving himself and law enforcement into multi-jurisdictional overreach.
Again, didn't he literally ship migrants from the Texas border?
Texas migrants, as Florida governor, sent him to Cape Cod, Massachusetts or something, right?
Something like that, somewhere northeast.
To the vice president's home, I believe a few to Elizabeth Warren's home.
There's just so many to spread them around a little bit for everybody. DeSantis.
The governor's office said hundreds of state troopers, police, and National Guard soldiers, plus boats and planes, are ready to head to the border as early as Wednesday. The state's response is being done under the Emergency Management Assistance Compact, a partnership among all states to provide mutual aid. Were they asking for your aid, Ron? DeSantis's response comes at a time when political tensions over immigration are particularly inflamed with the expiration of the pandemic-era rule known as Title 42. I would listen closely, according to the Miami Herald, and I've seen this reported elsewhere, Dom. While the surge in migrants has not happened, there has actually been a 50% reduction in migration and immigration contacts at the border, my understanding.
Last week, right.
But it was a siege. I mean, it was supposed to be a siege. That's what Fox News said. America's under siege. We have no borders. Except the actual facts on the ground are 50% less contacts since the expiration of Title 42. A little bit more here. While a surge in migrants has not happened, Border Patrol officials fear ending the policy would increase migrant encounters. So there was fear that sometime in the future, there could be more migrations. So DeSantis is going to act with Florida state law enforcement, send them to the Texas border. While Biden ignores the crisis he created, Florida stands ready to help Texas respond to the crisis, DeSantis said in a statement. The issue of immigration, a powerful motivating issue for the Republican base, has been a driving policy issue for DeSantis as he increasingly blames the Biden administration for the situation at the border. Again, this is the border of a different state, not the one he's governor of.
Minor detail.
This is something that is the responsibility of Joe Biden. Correct. So stay out of it. This is a responsibility that he has defaulted on really from day one of his presidency. According to you and Fox News, obviously, if he had a different administration, it'd be a lot easier to actually deal with the problem at its source. Meaning what? You're going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it? Is that your plan?
Oh, that's already been done. You got to come up with something different.
This year's mission will not be the first time DeSantis has sent assets, Tom, to help Texas officers respond to immigration issues. In the summer of 21, he spent at least $1.6 million to send dozens of state law enforcement officers on a weeks-long border mission in Texas. The 7-week trip, led by 3 state agencies, was cast by the Republican governor as a needed measure to beef up security at the border amid the failures of the Biden administration. And while critics saw the effort as a state-funded political stunt, I was going to be the latter category down.
Yeah, it's going to be a little more expensive this time. NBCMiami.com reporting on the assets, Michael. 101 Florida Highway Patrol officers, 200 Florida Department of Law Enforcement officers in teams of 40, 200 Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission officers. Didn't we get a ticket from one of those guys, Crudy?
I got a ticket from a freaking game warden because the fascists here in the state of Wisconsin wanted to squelch all First Amendment public singing and protest.
800 Florida National Guard soldiers, 20 emergency management personnel, including radio technicians, mechanics, and planners, 5 available fixed-wing aircraft with monitoring equipment and downlink capabilities, 2 aviation crews, 2 mobile command vehicles and 2 command teams, 17 available unmanned aerial vehicles and support teams, and 10 vessels, including airboats, shallow draft vessels, and mid-range vessels.
He better put on those white boots and get his ass down to the border. Come back, more Devil's Advocates.
Come on back home, baby.
Zoo, the Arboretum, and then there's us. This is Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
ABC News. I'm Derek Dennis. The latest round of debt ceiling talks wrapping up with no deal yet. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy after today's meeting.
The president just now appointed individuals we will set. I would like to meet today, actually, and just start meeting until we get this done.
McCarthy signaled they could end up with a deal as early as this week. Senate leader Chuck Schumer says Congress has a duty to raise the debt limit without Republicans demanding sweeping spending cuts.
We have to come to common ground. That's the only way this has ever gotten done. It has never gotten done with one party saying you have to do it my way.
The U.S. could default on its loans June 1st. Authorities in New Mexico identified the suspected gunman in yesterday's mass shooting in a Farmington neighborhood. Police say 18-year-old Bo Wilson, a high school student, shot and killed 3 people and wounded 6 others. Mobile phone giant Vodafone says in order to cut costs, the company will lay off 11,000 workers over the next 3 years. This is ABC News.
Your home for local news, weather, and sports across the airwaves and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
For Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what you need to know. Wisconsin is in a war for talent with other states. That's according to University of Wisconsin System President Jay Roffett. He says if people leave Wisconsin for better jobs in engineering and technology, that hurts prospects for careers like teaching and healthcare here.
If we don't solve those issues in this state and make the investments that are necessary, I worry about what Wisconsin looks like in 5 and 10 and 15 years.
Rothman tells Wisconsin Eye decreasing enrollment makes funding expensive programs a bigger challenge. A committee of the state Senate meets today to talk about banning local governments from banning gas-powered power plants. Lawmakers have already passed statewide bans on gas-powered cars and stoves. In sports, the Cardinals clobbered the Brewers last night 18-1. That ties a franchise record. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
Navigating Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. WDS Health LLC can help you make sense of your Medicare options and guide you through the process. Did you know your income affects your Medicare premiums? Ever wonder why some pay $0 while others pay hundreds per month? WDS Health LLC has the answers. Get your free Medicare guidebook and sign up for a free informational seminar webinar on May 23rd at noon. Call 608-848-2389, 608-848-2389, or log on WDstrategies.com and click on the events tab.
One call can do it all. Your business's message can be broadcast across the entire state of Wisconsin through the Civic Media network of stations, or we can focus the campaign in your hometown. We have the flexibility. You have the control. Civic Media, 608-819-8255.
We're all looking for things to be a little easier in our lives, and efficiency and organization are keys to success. For more than 16 years, Easy Office Products has been a high-quality, local option for businesses, nonprofits, and home offices. Woman-owned and community-focused, EasyOP has everything you need to keep your office running smoothly. Visit EasyOP.com. That's the letters EasyOP.com. Or call today, 608-310-4300. With great customer service and local delivery, the team at Easy Office Products is here to serve you.
The enticing smell of fresh baked goods, breads, rolls, pies, cookies, and more. This isn't just a bakery, it's Just Dane's Just Bakery, a training program for people dealing with employment barriers. Learn more and order now for your next get-together at justdane.org, justdane.org.
Hey, Dan Kelly, you went around the state saying there had been fraud and the election should be overturned. You did that. You took $120,000 in pay from the Republican Party, not in a donation, pay. The most recent payment was in December, and we don't know if you're still being paid. And you've been endorsed by some of the biggest election deniers in the state. And you're shining me with, I don't.
Think you know politics? Think again. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Rolling through it. Two-fer Tuesday, Dom. The happier happy hour. Your phone calls always welcome here. 844-967-2789. And Dom, we don't talk enough about U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville. And you want to get to him, so I think I got a story here.
Oh, wait, all right. We had other things to get to, but all right, we'll transition. That's fine. Go ahead, man. Follow your lead. Go ahead, man.
GOP's Tommy Tuberville refuses to answer as he gets grilled over his defense of white nationalists. I think you should know this guy.
Yeah.
Senator Tommy Tuberville, Republican from Alabama, has found himself caught in the middle of a scandal of his own making after he told a reporter that white nationalists serving in the military were nothing more than Americans. Speaking to Raw Story, one of my favorite sources, exclusively on Tuesday, Tuberville said that he wasn't sure about an increase in terrorism for white supremacists. We got a lot of Americans. I try to be an American. Is that a defense exactly?
I'm not sure if white nationalists are Americans. Of course, if you're a citizen, you're American, no matter how racist you are. But I'm not clear that I'd be following up, oh, yeah, white nationalists are an American, and I'm an American. Does that mean you're a white nationalist?
Raw Story quoted these statistics to him with the most recent numbers the FBI revealed about the increase in hate crimes in the 1-year anniversary of the attack on Top Supermarket in Buffalo.
Yeah.
I'm not getting into that argument, said Tuberville. I don't know. All I know is we need more Americans in that country that believe in the country. Raw Story cited the incidents in Charlottesville in which the crowd of people sporting tiki torches chanted, "Jews will not replace us." We got a mental health problem in this country, Tuberville said. It's one of our biggest problems. Well, that's like the Republican base out margin. I don't think that's the defense usually used when they're talking about the base of their own party, Dom. They don't normally cast the wide mentally ill on their whole base, do they?
They do if you're Tommy Tuberville.
It wasn't clear, according to the reporting here, Dom, if he was suggesting the neo-Nazis and white supremacists at Charlottesville were suffering from a mental health problem. I think he was suggesting the entire crowd was, Dom. When asked if there was a white supremacist problem, Tuberville dodged, again saying, I'm not getting into that argument.
What argument?
Whether or not there are white supremacists, and this originated from the conversation, is it okay for white nationalists to serve in our armed national services? And he said they're just
Americans. They're just Americans.
So sorry for my digression. You said to me you wanted more Tupperville.
Let's roll on here a little bit more. Tuberville serves on the Senate Armed Services Committee and 3 subcommittees, one for strategic forces, one for emerging threats, another on personnel. Over the past several years, there's been a concern about emerging threats from extremists and militia members connected to military branches, either discharged or on active duty. The attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th of 2021 revealed some of those who attempted to overthrow the Capitol and the 2020 election were current personnel or former personnel in the military. There were 3 active duty Marines, 1 Navy member, and 9 other active reserve and National Guard who had been arrested in connection with January 6th. The George Washington University's Project on Extremism reported that out of the 968 defendants charged with January 6 crimes, 131 have a military background. That makes up 13%, the site said.
Dominic, statistically speaking, what about the insurrectionists adjacent? Like former Navy SEAL, now U.S. Congressman from Wisconsin's 3rd, Derek Van Orden, well, he wasn't charged at the insurrection, but he showed up for it and he photographed himself and he was supportive of it broadly. What about him? You know, he's former military.
Does he count? No, but these are people that were charged. So no, he would not count in this statistic.
So he's just insurrectionist adjacent, but does not fall in the 13% of former military, current military that actually participated and were charged in the January 6th. You know, someone should review the tape a little closer.
I think you're right. And to your point, the conversation he had recently, many militia groups and right-wing extremists are looking for ways to start a second civil war, one Washington Post report explained. It's why there has been a conversation among Homeland Security officials and the military about the radical right domestic terrorism. I think President Joe Biden made some reference recently in a speech calling that domestic, white nationalist terrorism the greatest threat, domestic terrorist threat that we have. Raw story continues. But when asked about it, Tuberville, talking about, the radical right domestic terrorism, Tuberville rushed to defend extremists as patriotic Americans. When he attempted to clean it up with another statement, it got even worse. And he asked how a white nationalist, quote unquote, is defined. The NBC reporter that spoke to him explained neo-Nazis are one group, a fact he seemed confused by. You think a white nationalist is a Nazi, question mark? I don't look at it like that. I look at a white nationalist as a Trump Republican.
I think he's pretty close to nailing it right there, Dom.
That's what we're called all the time, a mega person. We are losing in the military so fast our readiness in terms of recruitment. And why? I'll tell you why. Because the Democrats are attacking our military, Tuberville said. He went on to say that the Joe Biden agenda is to get out the white extremists, the white nationalists, people that don't believe in our agenda. He explained that is destroying the military. And finally, the Raw story reports at the same time, Tuberville is holding up the promotions of 200 service members because he's mad about abortion. Biden halted a move of the Space Command to Alabama after the state banned nearly all abortions in the state. Oh, what nationalist Nazis are? That's not what they call us. I just say those are Trump supporters. Wow, Tuberville, not the sharpest tack.
You notice he said that's what they call us. 844-967-2789. They call us the devil's advocates. Some call us the greatest radio show ever, and they are the best.
They're the true speakers.
Dynamo Dave, how are you, fella?
Hey, David.
Hey, gentlemen. Hey, I was wondering, well, first of all, pop quiz. What fair goes on in Custer, Wisconsin? Happening, that's the world's largest fair of its kind. June 23rd through the 25th. It's going to have its 33rd anniversary.
Well, I would say it's the Northern Wisconsin State Fair. I saw Johnny and June Carter Cash at the Northern Wisconsin State Fair, and that was like 1987. But that seems like that's more than 33 years ago. So Crudy's been partying at fairs, but which one is it in Custer? I'm sorry, man. I don't know.
No, so this is the Midwest Renewable Energy Fair. It's the world's
I've been
largest fair
there
of its kind.
With all the solar panels.
Yeah, exactly. We got to get you guys to do a live broadcast from there.
Well, I don't know what we would talk about for all the time. I'm down for renewables.
You could have guests.
Guests.
You guys could have guests. You could interview people doing the things, and you could always do your reporting that you do every day, and then you broaden your audience.
Dave, I went to one of them. I am a big believer, especially photovoltaic solar energy. I considered starting a company of sort. I even had a name for it. If you ever heard of Wisconsin Solar, that was my dream for a short time, Dave. I was going to put solar panels all across Wisconsin roofs.
Well, there's still time.
Well, Dave, send me some information, man. You going there? You're going to be at the Custer Renewable Energy Fair?
Yes, I will be. I generally attend every year, and it's great. And it's not just renewable workshops. It's got all sorts of different things for living off the land and living in an urban environment that's green living related. There's seed saving, permaculture, of course, wind generation. It just goes on and on. There's something for everything, and there's workshops for kids, and games and stuff. And then there's like exercise, and they got good bands and good keynote speakers. So I think it'd be so cool if you guys came out there, both of you.
Well, I'm going to speak for myself. Don will not be at the fair.
I like the fairs, man.
I'll look it up, Dave. I was thinking back in history, like when the hell would I have?
That was a long time ago. I remember you talking about it. We talked about it.
Buddy, that was 2008.
Yeah,
2007, wow. 15 years ago, 16 years ago. I went, it was like 17 years old then. Now it's 33, according to Dynamo Dave from Duluth. Dave, if I'm there, I'll buy you a cold one, fella. If I'm there, 844-967-2789. Otherwise, you got to come all the way to Madison. Mark from the SAC, how you been, fella?
Hey, Mark.
Doing okay. Hey, what's DeSantis going to do if there's some crisis in Florida? Well, he's got all these assets deployed to Texas when they actually are going to be needed in Florida. How is he going to respond to that? I mean,
we're not quite in a hurricane season yet.
Well, yeah, but we don't know with climate change. You don't know what's going to come down the pike. I mean, because
if it gets real bad, Mark, he'll strap on those white boots and go press the flesh, and he'll do what Ron DeSantis does. And that's be Ron DeSantis.
Do you remember when Joni Ernst talked about putting your foot in a plastic bag, like a Wonder Bread bag, for like a shoe or a boot liner when you were a kid?
Walking to school.
I bet you Ron's got some Wonder Bread in those white boots.
Yeah, it's just amazing that and for CJ, there's a bunch of Republicans out there trying to talk up the Durham report. It's a big old fat nothing burger, and and they should just admit it and cut their losses.
Oh no, Mark, they're going to try to do everything they can with it. And I heard some audio today, and thanks for the call, man.
Never admit, always spin.
And here's the new line, if you haven't heard it yet. McCarthy railing on Congressman Adam Schiff, calling him a liar, saying that the Durham report proved that he lied to the American people. And how can a man like Congressman Schiff, who lied to the American people, remain in Congress? Because if you're going to talk about removing Congressman George Santos, who has not gone through the process, innocent proven guilty, if you're going to talk about removing George Santos, then how can you not talk about removing Adam Schiff, who John Durham proved lied to the American people? That's the new storyline. So, get used to it.
Santos was charged with 13 felonies by federal Department of Justice investigators.
Well, I mean, he hasn't been convicted yet.
Adam Schiff And who's saying this? Who wants Schiff out?
Speaker McCarthy today.
Are you kidding me?
Oh,
the
no.
Speaker of the House?
Yeah.
In the middle of debt negotiations with our president, he's coming off reasonably by analogizing Speaker, Adam Schiff with George Santos. They're same. Our guy's just like your guy.
Our colleagues, everyone's got, problematic Congress folks in their party. Ours happens to be George Santos, and the Democrat, they have Adam Schiff, who, is apparently lied to the American people because John Durham apparently said it. But it doesn't matter if Durham said it or not. That's what McCarthy is interpreting, and that's what he's saying.
Can you serve in Congress from prison, from a federal prison? Because I think Santos might actually end up doing a little prison time.
I mean, maybe.
Felonies. These are substantial crimes being alleged against the man.
And I also heard McCarthy
fire fraud, money laundering. These are
wanting the ethics committee made up of an equal number of Republicans and Democrats to look at the available evidence that's already in public circulation with regards to Mr. Santos, and they'll make a determination. He believes that that committee is headed by a former Republican prosecutor, and they fully believe that they'll be able to address the Santos problem perhaps with the ethics committee,
while retaining his necessary vote because of the slim margin of their majority in the U.S. House down.
That's about right.
I mean,
yeah, dude, really,
it's craven. It's craven. Come back with us, Devil's Advocates. It's a Two-fer Tuesday. We're nearly done, but you can still be a part. 844-967-2789.
I know sometimes you wanna let go. Hey, I know.
Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Since when are real estate brokers so concerned about the environment?
True, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yeah, I even walk to work.
Come on, always.
Well, sometimes I bike, and if I have an appointment across town, I use my solar panels to charge my plug-in.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Check them out at solidarityrealty.com.
If you haven't been to Downdren's Distilling in Cottage Grove lately, you haven't been to Downdren's. With our expanded indoor tasting room, new spring cocktail menu, and perfect timing to take advantage of our cocktail garden, there's so much new to check out. We're both family and pet friendly. You can plan your visit around one of our many regular events, from plant sales to pro wrestling, craft sales to doggy days. There's always something happening at Downdren's. Follow us on social media for details, or better yet, come over to the tasting room and see for yourself. Downdren's Distilling on Progress Drive in Cottage Grove.
Civic Media isn't just another broadcast company. We're your neighbors. We bleed green and gold, and we love nothing more than to help fellow Wisconsinites succeed. Whether your business wants to advertise to your local community or the entire state, Civic Media can help. Find out more at civicmedia.us.
It's easy to listen to your favorite local radio station anytime. Download the Civic Media app from the Apple or Google Play Store, then listen live or whenever you want from anywhere for free.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Lows dip down to about 41 tonight under clear skies. Winds out of the northeast, 8 to 15 miles an hour. Mainly sunny tomorrow, high of 67. Partly cloudy skies tomorrow night, lows around 42. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times Thursday with highs around 75. 68, chance for scattered storms Friday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently,
in Madison, we love our
degrees.
sports, our food.
What are we going to deep fry next?
And our politics. We got you covered on that.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, our last segment. So if you got something to say, we'll hit you up at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, the entire light beer industry is under attack from the right at this time. Miller Lite has now drawn the ire of the conservatives.
No.
You know what they did?
What'd they do?
According to the Fox News Digital, the Foxy News, Miller Lite's woke apology for Bikini Girls ad sparks new beer industry controversy. They all kind of lost their mind. Wait till you hear what a couple of the Foxy hosts, the women, said. Hold on, bear with me.
All right.
Miller Lite faces fresh criticism Tuesday after a woke advertisement resurfaced in the wake of the Bud Light controversy. Apparently, Miller Lite tried to acknowledge Women's History Month. That's the woke ad. Outnumbered is a Foxy News show. Panelists questioned the beer industry's motive for pushing progressive ads. Why acknowledge women at all? The Miller Lite advertisement was released in March to celebrate Women's History Month. Yeah, why would they ever do that? And spotlighted the company's effort to support female brewers. It also included a litany of bleeped out curse words and a strong condemnation of the old beer advertisements that leaned on bikini-clad women as a selling point.
Right. I remember I had a Bud Light poster with the Bud Light girls and Spuds McKenzie.
Though Miller Lite's ad was overlooked when it was initially released, they found him, Dom. They caught him. Bud Light's controversial partnership with trans activist Dylan Mulvaney, which led to a consumer boycott and a drop in sales, brought new scrutiny to the beer industry. Now who's the woke beer? It's Miller Lite. Outnumbered co-host Kaylee McEnany, Dom, wasn't she the play action Barbie spokesliar?
One of the press liars for the Trump administration, yes.
Said she was offended by Miller Lite's female-focused advertisements for its overuse of vulgarities and the term women. She doesn't like the term women, Kaylee McEnany. What a reductionist way to view women, she said Tuesday. Make me laugh, inspire me. Don't reduce me to this. Emily Campagno, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I don't expect great things from you.
So we're not going to worry about it.
Added that the pivot away from bikini girls mirrors how other companies have changed their portrayal of women and femininity. Dom, like when the green M&Ms was given sneakers instead of heels. Wait, there's more. Here's her quote. Apparently now to be a woman in 2023, you need to wear a sweatshirt and jeans and be in the dirt and not wear a bikini.
So they're lamenting the good old days of exploiting women on beer commercials.
The female host is lamenting the fact that they no longer have women in bikinis selling the beer.
Well, I would suggest, and this is on the Fox Entertainment Network, right? That
I believe it's the Fox News. Well,
perhaps these fine hosts could, pick themselves up by their bootstraps, start their own brewery, and then, advertise and make the beer and sell it how they want if they don't like the way it's being done. Isn't that the American way?
Here's another quote from me. Outnumbered host Tom. And is this targeting going to make the money? Because if it's not, why do it? So I want to know, who do they think wants to buy a beer based on a woman who only knows one cuss word, by the way, and she says it over and over and over? The whole thing is just really odd. And speaking of really odd, co-host Brian Kilmeade called on beer companies to return to advertisements showing athletes having fun. Tastes great, less filling, Dom, instead of progressive ideals. I don't know why a marketing person who wants to keep their job would do something like this. Why are they messing with beer drinkers? Kilby then explained an issue with the Miller Lite's condemnation of bikini girls in beer ads. They don't want to look back on women's history and say that the bikini ever had a role. I think we're going to be forced to pick a third beer. Oh no. They've moved on from both Bud Light and Miller Lite. Welcome to my world.
Well, I just hope they don't get to the Captain Morgan and Diet Cokes, man. That'd be a sad day.
Dom, I can't wait till they've entirely moved on to drinking Coors Light.
Oh, Coors Light will be next, right?
What's that?
Coors Light will be next, right? At some point?
No. He's a bit conservative, I thought.
Oh, okay.
Although, God forbid he drops a woke ad campaign, because then it's all over but the boycotting. 844-967 2789. Hey, E-Bone, don't boycott screening some calls. We'll get to you in a minute, folks. More headlines, Dom. Where do you want to go next?
Well, let's get to the caller, and we're going to have to come back to this piece tomorrow. Folks, make sure you tune in tomorrow. Our pal, Maggie Dawn, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, going to join us at 5 o'clock. Lots of legal stuff going on. Maggie texted me today the civil lawsuit filed against Rudy Giuliani. And so I thought that might have a little bit of a hint from Maggie that she wanted to talk about it. So we're going to get Maggie on here tomorrow. We're going to talk about that. And also the propaganda that the Republicans are using, this Durham report. You heard CJ earlier, you have the conservative friends or family. They're jumping on this without reading it, of course. We're going to get there as well. But let's get back to the callers at 844-967-2789. Who's your Bob? You will have the last word today. Welcome. What do you got for us?
Hey, Bob.
Question. If Ron DeSantis has got Wonder Bread wrappers in those shrimper boots of his, is the Wonder Bread still in there?
Answer. No, Scott Walker ate it all with ham and cheese sandwiches.
Oh, God. Before or after?
Right. A little DeSantis flavor on the Sammys.
You don't want to know the answer to that one, Hoosier Bob.
Well, here's another side to it. If he gets a hole in that shrimper boot, because you can buy those cheap, and the water rushes in, blows through the Wonder Bread wrapper, his bread all gets wet, and B, he could be stuck out there in that water for a while.
I wish I could see him out there with waiters, like when water overflows the waiters and, you're like, ah! That will be Ron DeSantis's presidential campaign.
Well, he's got to keep the boots on because he doesn't want to get his pantyhose wet.
Scott Walker, wanker as I like to call him. He's a big fisherman too. And once you got them, they're hooked. Thank you all for listening.
First one's free, man.
Two-fer edition of the Devil's Advocates radio show. No, there won't be a second one. Not like this. They're all unique. Please stick around. Busted Pencils at 7 Native Roots Radio. Always keep it locked. Civic Media.
Well, I got hurt at work. I really need